What is up, guys? It's your girl here, Poe Maverick. And my good friend, A New Automation, recommended that I watch Shootout in Wadala. I hope I said it correctly. Basically, they stated that I was going to like this movie, that I wasn't going to be disappointed, that they really felt that I was going to like it. And it just so happens to be a true story about a well-known mob boss or gangster, however you guys want to call him, Manya Suva. Hopefully I said his name correctly. Who was a well-known crime lord back in the day, and he was known for, doing what mobsters do, defeating other mobsters, taking territory, things like that. But it turns out in this story, because it's based on his life, well, it's a biodrama and it's based on his life. Of course, other people, names were changed for characters. Characters were based off the other people who were part of this in real life. It's based on a true story. And I will say right off the bat, I will give this movie a 7. I did like how, because you're just told that, oh, they had a hard life and oh, it was this and that, but you kind of see why. It was basically the system failed him, so he was gonna go and, you know what, you did me wrong. It's only fair. He vows for vengeance, and when he does get the vengeance, he doesn't stop there. He grows. He becomes, what other gangsters fear, but also his morals and his principles are thrown out the window, all because of what had happened. So, Manu Sarva wasn't always a gangster. Basically, he tells the story when he's nearing the end of his life. In the beginning of the film, it opens with him being in the back of a police vehicle because he got arrested. And he is gravely injured, most likely not going to make it. So he tells his story to a police officer that's in the back of the van with him. And he tells his story of how he got to this point. So our boy Manya was, he was a student at college. He was in love with a girl, and he and this girl went to the mother to discuss marriage. What ends up happening is his older brother comes into the picture, and his older brother has gotten himself into some trouble. He is a part of a gang, and he just so happens to get in trouble with a main gang boss by the name of Batkar. I think that hopefully I said the name, Bahatkar. Well, he gets in some trouble with this person. Like I say, he's the main crime boss. Because he's on the run and he's trying to avoid him, it doesn't last long, especially when Batkar decides to send his goons after him. The goons find him and they start to beat him up to teach him a lesson. Now, Manya sees this and goes to save his life. During the scuffle, what ends up happening is one of the goons ends up dying because the older brother ends up stabbing him and he dies on the spot. They are eventually arrested and convicted. They are sentenced to life in prison. Also, in the meanwhile, as this is happening, Manya is arrested at the college where he is publicly humiliated by Inspector Balkar. I really hope I'm pronouncing the names right. Well, basically, the inspector humiliates him in front of the college, and then he and his brother are later, like I said, convicted, life sentence for the murder of the goon, which it turns out it is later within the movie suggested, well, actually, it's implied that the mob boss basically called the cops on them and they got arrested for murder. And it doesn't stop there. Basically, these boys are literally fighting for their life because this other convict, Patoya, comes out of nowhere and ends up having a beef with Manya. A fight ensues, and in this fight, the brother ends up dying. To which Munir, Munir, goes to the rescue, saves Munir, and they become friends. In doing so, he ends up becoming friends with another convict, Veer, who teaches him the ropes and trains him and lets him know, hey, that guy that you were fighting with isn't going to take it slow. He is very known to, he's one of those where if you do him wrong or he just doesn't like you, he will come after you. So I'm going to teach you the ropes. I'm going to help you out. Lo and behold, the day comes where Pattaya, the guy goes out, does a cheap shot, and it's not like, oh, you're going to do this for me, let me catch you somewhere else. The guy does a cheap shot in which he ends up beating up Manya, but Manya retaliates by killing him on the spot. This eventually leads to Munir and Manya to escape prison. And in doing so, while they're on the run, even, finding work, they end up sort of befriending the Haskar brothers. And Zabar seems to like, Menrad because, he impresses him. He likes his mind, likes the way he's thinking. The other brother doesn't like him so much. However, things kind of go well for them because eventually he ends up making his own gang. And the gang consists of Veers, Manuri, and this guy that was recruited by Veers. He was a well-known marksmith. Eventually, he gets his revenge by taking out Patkar and basically taking his territory and taking over his stuff. And Jamal, who is the bodyguard of the guy, ends up joining their gang. So as the story goes on, they get more terror. They keep on going. He eventually also teaches the instructor a lesson, humiliates him for the same way he humiliated them. So basically, what comes around goes around kind of thing. Well, this is when the backstabbing starts. So what ends up happening is a reporter who's obviously, I don't know, doesn't have principles, doesn't have morals, doesn't really care. He ends up being killed by a guy by the name of Mastan. And this causes a huge fight between the Haskar brothers and Mastan, which basically they are forced into a truce by Maqsood, Maqsood. Basically, this dude tells them, you guys need to stop. Stop it, knock it off now. Stop it. Just stop. But eventually, like I said, backstabbing begins. Menyad is basically told to kill Zabar. For fear that it's not going to stop. Basically, like I said, backstabbing. And Menyad does do so, which angers the other brother, which causes him to kill the sharpshooter. He ends up killing the sharpshooter with the help of Jamal. So, hey, what do you expect? And then when the brother is about to kill Manri, Manya hears this and goes to save him, and it causes a ripple effect where he is ordered. Manya is ordered to kill the brother. He refuses, but he eventually ends up getting forced to do so by a police commissioner, and it's obviously doesn't go very well because it leads us to the events of what the beginning took place. Yeah, when I mean, let's just say a lot happened. And when I mean a lot happened, and I know I probably always already say it. When I mean a lot happens, it's more like the details. So you have to pay attention, otherwise you miss it. And even when you do pay attention with the details, some details like with the characters, with the story, with the execution, how everything plays out together, sometimes it's can be too much or a lot in the sense where it grabs your attention. Like for example, Pushpa, the second sequel where the ending part where Pushpa goes into the meeting and eventually find out that all the bad guys, even the cops, set him up to a point where the new appointed politician, I can't remember her name, it was such a while ago when I watched that film, where she's on to Pushpa, and it gives sort of like if she's on to him, they can get they can cut their losses, get their losses back, things like that, things of that nature. So when she orders for Pushpa to be killed, executed, it's sort of a win-win for the real bad guys, the antagonists, And in this movie, it was sort of like that, the ripple effects, how backstabbing, how this person's connected with this person, and since you took out that dude, we're going to take out this dude out of retaliation. That's what I mean like that. When I mean a lot goes on, I mean in the sense of details, in the sense of how this character is going to retaliate against this character, how the events molded this character to a point where it gets them to that point. And that's where this story is, how everything got to, from a humble beginning down to, down to this craziness of how he became. And that's what Menra's life was, at least from what this story tells. I mean, like I said, when you do a biography about someone, of course, it's a little bit exaggerated because it's majority of that stuff is exaggerated to keep entertainment. Otherwise, if you really wanted to know the real life and what happened, you would watch a documentary. But then again, that's what movies are. They're made for the amusement of entertainment. They're made for our amusement. They're made to entertain us. They're not made to be taken seriously. I mean, like I said, if you want to take it seriously, then you would watch the documentary rather than something that's clearly exaggerated. Something's like, well, this is what happened, Like I said, the majority of these characters are based off real people, but of course they can't really use the people's name, which started some controversy. The director used the actual name of a real life person, which was gonna cause some consequences, and it basically made a dialogue scene within a trailer be trimmed out to avoid, legal trouble, to avoid conflict, things like that. Which that was pretty, not saying cool, like, oh my god, that's so awesome. It's more like, whoa, wow, didn't expect that. Which is true, I didn't expect that at all. But then again, what do you expect when you do movies with real life people? If you're not being respectful towards that person, then it's going to cause some conflict. But like I said, I am going to give this movie a 7. And I'm going to give it a 7 because, like I said, I've always liked to hear, I always like to hear things that are based off true stories because it kind of sparks an interest. It doesn't always work. Especially, like, I'm not really into gangster movies and things like that. But if, it's done in a way where it grabs me and it interests me, then I will watch it. Which this one did interest me in the sense of, like, how did he come to this? Like, was he raised up into it? Was it, a vow for revenge? Was it like, there's a movie called Layer Cake, which is a good movie. Basically, you don't know much about the character, but you are invested in what the trouble the character gets into, the situation that he's in, and you kind of have an idea of how he became this. That's a good movie. It stars Daniel Craig, and there was this other guy named Michael Gibson. I believe he played Dumbledore in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. But yeah, this is, if you guys are into gangster movies, watch The Layer Cake. I recommend that. The Layer Cake is a really good film. I did enjoy that film. I watched that film so many times, because it's a good film. It's not based on a true story, but it is, it is like a mild gangster movie. It's not like Road to Perdition or The Godfather or Scarface. It's very, very toned down. It's very, in my opinion, it's very, very toned down, you know, because they follow their rules, you know. But yeah, so Shootout to Wadala. Is it Wadala? Let me see. I hope I said it right. Shootout to, yeah, I said it right. Wadala. Shootout at Wadala. Okay. So Shootout Wadala. Yeah, 7. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Like I said, I'm not always into gangster films because it doesn't always spark my interest. But like movies like Layer Cake, like I just talked about, and The Departed, you know, that grabs my attention. Even Road Perdition grabs my attention, but it's not exactly a gangster movie. But it was more of survival and things like that. The human nature of survival, of how choices make the person, no matter good or bad. But this one was good, really good. It was really good. Like I said, it's one of those movies where you kind of have to go with an open mind, because although it is based on someone who was in fact a real life person, the story itself is going to be mostly exaggerated for entertainment purposes. So some may not be so true, others may be true. But like I said, this is a 7 out of 10. Anu, thank you so much, Bub. I appreciate it. Like I said, I did like this movie. My only criticism would be, like I said, I'm not always into gangster movies, but I watched it with an open mind. Like I said, you know, yeah, you catch my drift. So yeah, yeah, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Like I said, I knew. Thank you so much. So hope you guys enjoyed this review. That's going to be it for me today, guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. And if you guys do want to watch it, great. It is called Shootout at Wadala. It was released back in 2013, and it is based off a true story of Menya Suva. And yeah, if he's someone that sparks your interest, and watch this movie or learn more about his life. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful day today, and you guys be safe out there. Okay, guys? Bye.